but there is something else being proposed.
$100 billion.
I don't have any money.
This is dailymail.co.uk. Before we go into break real quick here, Democrats propose plan to make federal governments give every American born after 2005 a $1,000 savings account and use higher estate taxes to keep adding funds until they are 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, give those children money.
That's fun. I mean, it's kind of a steal from the rich, give to the poor thing. Estate taxes, of course, being the taxes when somebody dies and their estate is passed on to the next generation. That's what estate tax is, right?
Yeah. Well, aren't there? I thought there were some laws being, well, at least in California, I know there were some laws that are trying to change some of that real estate stuff. I think it got a lot of pushback because.
Well, I don't think it's just real estate. Yeah. I think it's. Oh, let's see here. A tax levied on the net value of the estate of a deceased person. Right. This is like the death tax thing. So when their stuff gets moved on to the next generation. And that's been one of the main criticisms of our system is low estate tax, makes it cheap for generational wealth to move on. So they want to tax the generational wealth of the higher class and literally put it into a bank account for the children of the lower class, which is interesting. What are the details?
So it says here, Senator Cory Booker and Rep. Ayanna Pressley introduced the American Opportunity Accounts Act, which would federalize the use of baby bonds for the country's youth to help fight wealth inequality. Now, real quick, Basil, take a quick guess what university Cory Booker is from.
I'm going to have to guess Stanford.
Stanford! Mm-hmm. Just pop up everywhere. The cardinal class of the American Vatican system. Oh, by the way, Elon Musk was also at Stanford. Did you know this? 2 days before he quit. Seems to be a theme with him with all this world forums and systems. He's part of it, but he's kind of like, it's boring.
Oh, he dropped out of Stanford, you mean?
2 days, yeah. 2 days. He went on to start PayPal or something. So, which, by the way, Peter Thiel, also graduate from Stanford. But I digress. Mm-hmm. The program would be funded by raising estate and inheritance taxes. It would result in a major redistribution of wealth to middle and lower income Americans. The lawmakers estimate that children in families of the lowest income levels would have roughly $46,000 by the time they begin college, which could all be spent on a down payment on a college education. Those kids would get $2,000 a year under the program, the number that decreases as families earn more income. Children in families at the very top of the applicable financial ladder. For instance, a family of four with a household income of $125,000 would only end up with an estimated $1,600 when they turn 18.
Yeah.
Okay.
$125,000 for a couple, between a couple, is not that much money. I mean, that's like making it by, depending where you are. $125,000 in Southern California. That's not. You're living in a box.
Yeah, it's you're homeless basically.
Yeah.
$5,000. Let me see here. I'm looking at domestic couples salary. Let me check here. I'm just going to look at some.
I think it's around 80 is the sort of.
According to ZipRecruiter, domestic couple salary nationwide, $131,000.
Yeah, that sounds right. Okay, yeah. That's higher than I thought actually, but that I could see that. So you're talking about an average middle class person. It would only equate to $1,600
when they turn 18. So after all that time, you get $1,600, which you can spend by that time maybe a tank of gas, a couple tanks of gas.
Yeah, right.
Kids whose guardians are bringing in about $81,575 for a family of four would be eligible for $250 per month and end up with just over $7,000. Ooh,
still not very much.
How is this dropping the wealth gap?
$80,000 for a family of four. You cannot even live in Southern California.
Well, definitely not Southern California. Maybe they're targeting I don't know. Where would they be targeting? What's the cheapest place in America?
But that's what I'm saying is like a kid who grew up, relatively poor or modest, getting $7,000 on their 18th birthday. I don't know if that's a life-changing amount of money.
I certainly, I don't know that it's supposed to be life-changing. I think it's just supposed to be something for the kids.
Something.
Think of the kids, okay. Basil. It says here, quote, "The racial wealth gap in America is the result of generations of precise and intentional policy violence."
Okay.
So we must be as intentional and as precise about advancing policies that address it head on. Basically admitting, this is Presley, by the way, in a statement during the unveiling of the bill. She's basically saying, there's been intentional policy violence. So in order to fight that, we must fight our own policy violence. They're not going to call their thing policy violence, but that's basically what they're saying. Baby bonds are one of the most effective tools we have for closing the racial wealth gap and breaking the cycles of poverty and trauma that have prevented black and brown folks from thriving in this country. And it goes on and on. I think the bigger thing here, besides just the money thing, is the whole UN 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. Everyone has an identity by the year 2030. All the babies born. What better way to put everybody born post 2005 into the government ledger
in the system
than some kind of UBI system where, hey, we're going to give you some money each month. So I think that's what it is more than the actual money itself, because clearly it's not actually doing anything to help these people.
Well, 42 grand,
the wealth gap.
42 grand could make a difference for somebody coming up real poor. Anybody really. 42 grand on your 18th birthday is a great deal. But only the poorest of the poor would get the 42 grand. Which, that'll send them to college. That's great. A nice college education. I'm not saying nobody should have that. But yeah, I think you're right. The point of this is to incentivize putting the kids in the system.
Enroll them early.
A government funded system where, of course, their financials, I'm sure there will be a roadmap for where your baby bond then becomes the basis for your legal financials when you turn 18.
Right.
And you can, keep using that account. And by then, you are fully programmed to allowing the government to have an intimate hand in all of your financials. It's a pretty straightforward process, seems like.
Yeah. So there you go. And by the way, real quick, according to Insider Intelligence, 58% of American teenagers between 13 to 17 visit TikTok at least once a day. So over half 13 to 17-year-old Americans visit TikTok every day. If they lose access, they're going to be mad. They're going to be a lot of mad teenagers. And then, just a couple years, how old they're going to be 18, they can bust out they can use their 42 grand to buy themselves a
ticket to China,
an AI drone that's to fight the war, war with China.
I'm sure all these kids will just be using the money for beer. So I think it's party time.